month I've been dating someone, but he dumped me. But let me back up and explain. Toward the end of our talking situation, I told him I've been feeling disconnected. What I meant by that was I felt really close to him emotionally, but sexually, I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get my dick and my heart on the same page, which is weird because I identify as an ethical slut. If you want to know what I mean by ethical slut, though, click here or the link is in the description. Either way, sexual compatibility was the demise of my most recent dating situation. Clearly, it's not just if one person is a top or the other person is a bottom, or if we're complementary versions of versatile. It has to be deeper than that. My guest tonight is an actual doctor who's going to help us figure out if I'm putting too much emphasis on sex in my dating life, or is there a better way to find a guy that complements my desires? The easiest way to support Dear Black Gay Men is to pick up some merch. There are 2 shows left in the season, and we're celebrating with our season finale party. The bar is open, the vibes are through the roof, and we're featuring some special guests. More on that later. Visit DearBlackGayMen.com to get your tickets. The show is June 30th in Atlanta. I will see you there. Now, let's get into it. We're talking about all things sex tonight, so buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready to step your cookies up. This is the show we're calling Sexual Compatibility Explained, and the show starts right now. What up, though? I am Jay the Gentleman. That's at JAI, the Gentleman on IG. Welcome to Thirsty Thursday right here on Dear Black Gay Men podcast. From sniffies to backdoor, sex is readily accessible for those looking to bend or do the bending. But when we decide to get into a relationship, it becomes more than just looking for some good dick or a fat ass. So tonight we're talking to Dr. Jonathan Mathias Lassiter about sexual compatibility and what that means in the context of relationships. But first, it's always so much happening in Black gay culture. The countdown to the season 3 finale is on. We've got one more episode after tonight, and we're capping off season 3 with our big season finale party. To help us celebrate, we've invited the Open Relationship Podcast to join the festivities. Open Relationship Podcast is A to Z as it pertains to LGBTQ community and beyond, hosted by Solomon Stretch, Marco the Prince, Shazam, and Rodney Wash. They invited me on their podcast earlier this year, and because Rodney and I disagreed about a particular topic, but I'm glad to be inviting all of them for a crazy conversation over some bottle cocktails at the season finale party. To talk about it, we've got Rodney Wash, and I understand we got Marco here. Are y'all there? Rodney Wash and Marco, are y'all there?
Yes. How you doing?
How are you doing, beautiful?
I'm good. Blessed and favored.
That was actually from Rodney.
Oh.
Thank you.
Are you excited about the show?
Like that.
Are you excited about the show?
Yes, I really am. I'm really to see what questions you might have.
That's a good starting place. What you want to talk about, though? What you want to talk about? Marco, I'll start with you. What you want to talk about? Because you've been to a live show and you've been on this show before. What do you want to talk about?
I like sex.
Of course you like sex. We all know you like sex. We listen to Open Relationship Podcast.
So I like to talk about sex. Yeah.
What about sex you want to talk about?
Damn, Jay. I don't know all of it. Compatibility.
Sexual compatibility is what I'm talking about tonight. So perfect timing for you. Yeah. Rodney, what you want to talk about?
All things gay.
That's big as
hell. I'm older now, so I want to hear more conversation around like who people are voting for, what the thought process of raising a family. I mean, I'm just different. You know, sex will be there. Sex will always be there, but I want more grown-ish gay conversation.
Grown-ish gay conversation. Like, are you dating somebody, Rodney?
I'm happy.
What does that mean? Like,
well, this is my
your best life and single, or are you happy because you're in a relationship? Like, what's the tea?
You know, the person, if they know who they are, that makes me happy. I don't really broadcast my relationship when I don't have a ring. Like, until I have a ring, then I would definitely brag about them, post them on my page. I don't do all that. This is my boyfriend for 6 years. That's your issue, not mine. I'm not being with somebody 6 years without any no type of investment. So right now we're good. We're happy. And he know who he is.
Oh, so
And
there
we're
is
okay.
somebody. There is somebody. I mean, but this obviously is what I want to talk about on the live show with a whole room full of people. Are you dating somebody, Marco?
Yes.
Why y'all so squeamish about talking about that?
I'm not squeamish. I just feel like we just had a show on our podcast last week about claiming people, and it's nothing guaranteed because you can claim somebody today and they be gone tomorrow. So until it's guaranteed, I'm not going to put all my business out like for the whole world. You know, I feel like.
But you got a podcast talking about relationships.
Yeah, and that's how I
the
feel.
R in the A to Z in LGBTQ. You see how?
Hey, babe, you know who you are.
You see that? You see how I did that there? Okay. I mean, I'm here for it. So, is there a topic that you don't want to talk about? Better question. What do you think Solomon and Shazam want to talk about? Marco, I'll toss that one to you.
Damn, I don't know what I think Solomon would like to talk about the perspective of mental health for Black gay men, even though he does it like on a regular basis, but he has a really good voice and opinions when it comes to us protecting our peace and being good for the soul.
What about Shazam? Rodney, what do you think Shazam want to talk about?
He likes getting people business. Just like you. So like, you and Shazam should be twins. Like, y'all ask a question that you don't want to say out loud to let people speak through.
I definitely say the quiet parts out loud. That's the whole premise of Dear Black Gay Men, is to say the quiet parts out loud.
Or did you ask your people on your guests to do it, and then you see what they say?
I mean, I ask the quiet questions out loud, definitely. Not very often do people ever turn a question back on me. I'm an open book, but very rarely do people crack it open to read it.
Yeah, very much Shazam.
See, I can't help that y'all don't turn the questions around. I just ask a good question. I think that's the premise of the show. I'm very excited. I am very excited, but I will tell you this. 2 things I want to make sure I mention to y'all to your face. And I would have loved to have Solomon and Shazam hear this as well. Hopefully they'll watch. But one thing that I really appreciate about Open Relationship Podcast is the fact that each of you are so different. There are some people on your cast that do like open relationships and some that are very monogamous. You have some people that are focused on, like you said, with Solomon, focused on mental health and protecting peace. And you got some people that do a little bald-headed whole shit. Like, the fact that y'all represent us so well, I think, is one of the reasons why I'm really, really excited to be having this event with you. So if you didn't know, I'm excited to have you.
Well, thank you. We're excited to be there. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm really ready to see what it's going to be. Yeah, I'm just ready.
I'm glad that you're ready, because the show in 10 days. Today the 20th. It's on the 30th. It'd be kind of fucked up if you wasn't ready. Y'all know I got my buttons over here now.
That's fine.
Since the last time Marco was here, that's my upgrade. My buttons. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. I did that just for y'all. I got sound effects for each one of my team members, and I ain't gonna play Royce's yet, because Royce he'll turn he high yellow, so he would turn like plum red and blush and the whole nine. We ain't gonna do that. Okay, so for everybody in the comments, let me know in the comments, what topics do y'all want to hear us bring up during our season finale party? Do you want to know if Marco finally found his relationship? It sounds like he may have. Or maybe you want to know which of the Open Relationship cast members I have taken out on a date. Because that's some tea. But
that is some tea.
That is some tea. Drop your comments, because Rodney might be talking about me. I might be his boo thing that he don't want to claim. Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? Drop your comments. Drop your topics in the comments, and you might just hear them at the finale party. For everybody else, the live show, season 3 live show is will mark the end of our current season. It's going to be held here in Atlanta at the Atlanta Theater. Vibes will be through the roof, and the conversation, as usual, will not be televised. It'll be live streamed so we can say exactly what we mean, and hopefully I can figure out if Rodney is actually in a relationship. You can visit dearblackgaymen.com to get your tickets. I want to thank Rodney and Marco for joining me, and I'm looking forward to turning up with both of you and Shazam and Solomon and as the whole cast of Open Relationship Podcast on June 30th. When we come back, we're diving headfirst into tonight's topic and talking about all things sexual compatibility with Dr. Lassiter. If you're loving this conversation, give this video a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to Dear Black Gay Men. And while you're at it, share it with a friend in the group chat so they can tap into the combo as well. This is Sexual Compatibility Explained, and we will be right back. What do y'all think of fire signs? Like, you're out on a date and they say, I'm a Leo or I'm an Aries. Now, most of the girls ask about your sign in the first conversation so they can start making assumptions about who you are, what you do, and if y'all gonna work together. Ironically, for Thirsty Thursday on Dear Black Gay Men podcast, this episode is produced by a Leo, featuring an Aries and a Sagittarius, so my Virgo ass can figure out why fire signs are so crazy. I'm all zoned out. My bad. Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday, right here on Dear Black Gay Men podcast. It seems like everyone wants a hung mask top or a robust bottom, but I say that people who are looking for those things in a relationship are probably trying to fuck parts and not people. To help us go deeper, I'm talking to a culturally informed psychologist, professor, and the author of the upcoming memoir, How I Know White People Are Crazy. I love that title. Please welcome Dr. Lassiter. Are you here, Dr. Lassiter?
Hello.
Hey,
yes,
Doc,
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
So I will tell you, when I'm talking to doctors, I got one button over here, just in case you get all educated and I can't, and you stuff starts going over my head. I play this sound.
You know every fucking thing.
I love that.
I want to make sure that we staying grounded because I'm a little dense sometimes. Is that fair?
That's fair, and you are not dense. I watched the show, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, Doc, in order to have this conversation, I know I am already drinking. Are you having a cocktail with us?
I'm not having a cocktail, but I do have some sparkling water here in my nice big mug.
That is very doctorly of you. I appreciate that. That is very, very professional and doctorly. As you can tell, I am drinking. I got a little wine down here, so I might be doing some bald-headed hoe shit later. So
be yourself.
Be yourself, bitch. Step your pussy up. That's what T.S. Madison said. But,
yeah, I love T.S. too.
Thank you. Special thanks to Bottled for being a continued sponsor of Thirsty Thursday and providing us with deliciously crafted cocktails. To pick up your bottled cocktail, visit bottled.co and use our exclusive coupon code for 15% off and a free shipping. Remember, for bottled cocktails, shake and pour over ice. Doc, are you ready to talk to me?
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
I am excited. Let's get into the episode. All right, Doc, you say that you specialize in working with high-achieving Black professionals and activists, but I am an ethical slut who dabbles in bald-headed hoe shit regularly, so you're going to have to humor me for this conversation, okay?
Listen, I work with all types.
I work with all types, too, but I think I mean it a little differently than you do. All right, but I admittedly so. The thought process behind this conversation came because I was recently dumped because we were sexually incompatible. So I really want to do a deep dive. Mm-hmm. Fair?
Fair. Let's do it.
So I have a very high sex drive, but the last guy I dated made my heart melt, but my dick didn't jump. where we sexually, is that a marker of sexual incompatibility?
That's definitely a marker of sexual incompatibility. So when I think about sexual compatibility, I think about three things. I think about balance of sexual desires. I think about communication about those desires. And I think about satisfaction. And part of that balance is that you have to be balanced in what you want and the frequency in what you want. And if those things are aligned, then we can get into conflict. So it sounds like that's what was happening with you, right? We also got to be open about communicating about these things, and including being honest with ourselves about what we want. Some people have shame around what they want and they don't really want to tell their partner. And then they're like, I'm not satisfied. Yeah, but have you told your partner what you want, right? Or your partners what you want, right? I also think about that satisfaction piece. That goes back to skills. Like, maybe you need to, listen, maybe you need to step your pussy up, right? So like, we also.
Now you're talking my language. Now you're on my road, Pastor. Got it.
Yeah. So sexual compatibility, again, are those three things: balance of sexual desires, communication about those things, and satisfaction. And if those things aren't all firing, then yeah, we have a mismatch.
Okay. So I will say that my curiosity, and I tell everybody this: I have worked in HIV prevention and services for the vast majority of my career until I started a podcast, right?
Okay.
And so I have heard the gamut. I have been in the gamut. I would say my freak number is pretty high.
Okay.
As evidenced by this lacy mesh shirt that I got on, right?
Okay.
So do I gotta be with a freak in order to be compatible?
I would say that's probably going to benefit you. It may also
I would hope so, but
yes, it may also be, it's also about balance, right? So maybe you're with a person who's not at a 10 all the time, but then that means that like you're willing to vibe and to shift for them too. So if you're at a 10 and they're at a 6, then sometimes, you move together. That's part of the balance. And that needs to happen in every relationship in order for it to be what we consider a healthy relationship where both parties are thriving. Because it's not just about one person.
But I do think that there's a component of us that, like, a part of me, as I'm hearing you say that, is thinking, I want you to come with your work already done. Like, show your work, have your homework done by the time you get to class in the morning, right? And so, if I am the culprit here, because I do absolutely acknowledge that the demise of my last relationship was at least 50% me, right?
Okay.
If I am the culprit, are my expectations too high if I think that he should have his sexual vibe worked out before he gets here? Should he work himself up to a 6, or should I have more grace should he work himself up to a 10, or should I have more grace that he's a 6?
I think if we're looking for healthy long term, we're going to have grace. No one's perfect. And so while it would be great if everyone had worked themselves up and have their homework done before, that's just not the reality for a lot of folks. And so, I mean, you could do that, but then you might be, crossing out a lot of people that could be very much fulfilling, that can provide you with a fulfilling relationship, because sexual compatibility is only one part of it too. But that grace is something that's very important.
Okay, help me understand that though. Like I know I understand the words that you're saying, but I don't, cause I don't think anybody is gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna sign up to be his homework project so he can figure out his sex, right? I don't think anybody wants that, but we all want love. So where is the balance in those two ideologies? Yeah, exactly. I want some mind-blowing sex, and yeah, I want love, but what if those two people are not the same?
Right. So one, you always have the option to go somewhere else, right? And to find someone that is going to match your freak, right? As Tinashe says, right? So we could do that. We can also take another choice, right? And that choice is to work. A relationship is work. Two people coming together, whether we're working on the sex, whether we're working on finances, whether we're working on emotional communication, relationships will work, and really healthy, fulfilling relationships help each other get better and grow. And that takes time, and it takes effort and intentionality and grace.
I know you see my face turning up
I
when
know
you
you
say
don't.
that.
You're like,
I'm like,
I was not compute. Yeah.
oh, dog. You
Word.
supposed
Yeah,
to be
no,
on my team, on my show. Dog.
no,
I'm just kidding.
I am on your team, right? Like again, what's the first thing I said? We always have the option. We could always go somewhere else. But there is no perfect person. There's no perfect person. Relationship is about compromise. And again, I like to say balance,
Okay.
flowing with each other. That's just the reality of any relationship.
Okay. So can you have, again, with balance,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been using numbers. So can you have like relationship compatibility at a 10 and sexual compatibility at a 3 and it work?
Yes, I think it depends on what you value more, right? If you're like, you know what, the sex frequency is not what I like, but you know what, this person holds me down. This is the person I can go to when I'm having a bad day. For some people, that top sex. For some people, it's not though. Some people's like, no, I need my back banged out, right? And so it's
Or
not,
I need to
not
bang
gonna happen.
yours out.
Say it again.
Or I need to bang yours out.
Exactly, right? And so it's not going to happen for them. Each person is different. What I'm saying is that relationships require everyone involved in that relationship to, again, this goes back to that communication piece that I was talking about in sexual compatibility, is to be able to understand themselves and communicate that with their partner about what their need and what they're willing to flow with and work up to.
Okay, Kai, put some of these comments up because I just see a number. Like I see there's a whole bunch of comments happening. So let me know what's up. It says Mr. D says then you have to ask yourself what's most important, good sex or everything else is cool, but the sex needs work. Like
Yeah.
in my single mind, right? To Mr. D's point in this comment, right? I think that I am pretty okay. I have a business that I love. I have hobbies and friends. And the only thing that is missing for me, and I think a lot of us think this, the only thing that is truly missing is a person that I can, you know, kick it with and have amazing mind blowing sex. Like that, to me, that is the prerequisite for a relationship. That is the definition of a relationship, a friend that I fuck.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so how do I like in my head I'm like, well, if you can't fuck good, then let's just be friends.
And again, maybe that's the line for you. What I'm saying though is that for most people, sex dwindles in relationships. Like when we look at long-term relationships, people not have, I almost said the F word. People are not having sex
I've been saying
at
the F
the
word the
same
whole time.
frequency that they're having sex year 1, year 2. At year 13, year 16, year 20, most people are not having sex at that same frequency. But those other pieces are more important, become more important for them. Again, that's not everyone.
Okay, so let's broaden the conversation bigger than just me and my situation because I'm only one person. And so, do you think, as you look at as a cultural voyeur, as someone who looks at Black gay culture and the relationships that you see
Mhm.
happening among us, is the emphasis on sexuality in dating, is it too high? Is it misplaced? Like, because I really think that people think like me, but maybe I'm a monolith and sex is way too high up on my priority list
No,
for this.
well, one, I want to say that most of the times when people are coming to me, they're coming to me because they perceive a problem in their life. So I have a biased view. So I don't want to make too broad of strokes. So I do want to say that. So, but when people are coming to me, as I said, they see a problem, and that problem is sometimes they are placing too much emphasis on sex, which is just one part of a relationship. Sex is one part of a relationship. It's a very important part, and it's something that we shouldn't overlook. And we don't want to say that sex is not important, because it is. But is it the most important thing? For some people, it is. Again, though, the research shows that sex and appearance, those things, they naturally decline over time. So what is your relationship built on when those things decline naturally over time?
You know, the funny thing is, as you're saying that, the older I get, the broader the attraction I have. Like, I used to want skinny boys because I was a skinny boy. Then I got thick and I only wanted thick boys. And then I got older, and now I'm like, whisper in my ear and tell me something good. Make some cornbread. Like, those are things that are really important to me. But after the cornbread is gone, bend over. And it better be good.
Yeah, and it better be good. Yeah, but here's the thing. How much work are you willing to put in so that that person knows what's good to you? Because maybe they think that they're a 10. Maybe they think that. And they're putting out all their
10, Doc. Not many people are a 10 on my side.
I'm saying maybe they think they're matching your freak, right? And they're pulling out all their tricks, but it's not the tricks you like. That's where the communication comes in. Are you willing to communicate about that?
Okay, that is a perfect segue, because we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Thank you for that, Doc, because you about to enlighten me. I don't know if you're setting the girls free, but you about to set me free. I feel it deep in my spirit.
Let's do it.
Deep in my spirit. All right, later in the show, Dr. Lassiter is going to be answering your burning questions, but I got a question for the girls. Do y'all think 2 tops or 2 bottoms, for instance, can successfully date? Can they have a successful relationship? Let me know that in the comments while this commercial break is happening. I hope tonight's conversation is opening up your understanding of sexual compatibility. If so, like this video and drop the link in your group chats, because I know y'all in them. We don't want to gatekeep anything around here. This show is called Sexual Compatibility Explained, and we will be right back. Listen, put this on. Y'all remember BGC? I had to run in here and get this out because y'all see my hair is a mess. I'm in my workout clothes, but I remember them days. It was a time when the girls were simple. The stories were lit. The DMs were not always open because half of us still had a dial-up connection and you actually had to meet people. Then there was a time before that when we ain't had the internet at all. I remember the chat line. For Thirsty Thursday on Dear Black Gay Men Podcast, we're having a drink with Lamont while he helps me and the girls figure out how to get offline and get in love. Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday, teammates, here on Dear Black Gay Men Podcast. Before the break, I asked, do y'all think 2 tops or 2 bottoms can successfully date? And we got a couple comments in the chat. Rakai, what's going on in the chat? Dominic says, anyone can have a relationship with another person or persons as long as all parties are clear on what it is and what's going on. So are you saying that 2 tops, 2 bottoms, are you saying it would have to be like a third? Or are you talking about communication? What's the emphasis there, Dominic? Let me know. What's another one, Rakai? Kevy Kev. Hey, Kevy Kev. Kevy Kev, I don't know if you're in Atlanta, but I want to see you at this show. Hit me up in the DMs and I'll make sure you get in on me, because you've been rocking with us every single episode. But Kevy Kev says, yes, if both partners are willing to compromise, somebody has to top and or bottom, and always an open relationship is an option. I agree with that. I truly believe open relationships make the world go round. But again, that's just my perspective. Anything else, Rakai? We got another one. Mr. D. I like you, Mr. D. And I don't even know you. But absolutely, I believe when the motivation is right and you're honest, you can make a relationship work no matter the position. That's a good one. That's a good one. Any others, Rakai? Comic Zans. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let me know in the chat. But I think it's possible as long as one of them are versatile in some way. The in some way is so curious to me. Versatile in some way, like I can be a top who sucks some dick or a bottom who eats ass. Is that kind of versatile, or somebody got to do the bending? Is which kind of versatile you talking about, Comic Zans? Let me know in the chat box. All right. Thank you for that, Rakai. Thank you for everybody for rocking with us. And I especially want to say thank you to everyone supporting Dear Black Gay Men with super chats and badges. But if sexual compatibility was as easy as just top, bottom, and verse, we'd be probably all be having much better relationships by now. Doc,
Hello?
I truly believe that sexual compatibility starts with knowing what fulfills you sexually. Would you agree with that?
I agree. We have to be clear first before we can communicate that to others.
Okay, and do you think again, voyeur in Black culture? Because again, you a doc, you got a whole bunch of different levels of experience in our culture. But do you think that we put enough emphasis on understanding our sexual desires?
I don't think we put enough emphasis on understanding ourselves, period. So much of our society encourages us to be distracted and reinforces that. So sexual desire and exactly what we want and how we want it, it's a part of that distraction. And so I don't think we spend enough time thinking about that and being honest with ourselves in general.
Okay, help unpack distraction because that's a big word for us, and I don't want to pull out my book. And when you say distraction, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that, again, so much of society is telling us to focus on our jobs, to focus on our friends, to focus on making a certain amount of money, to focus on being in a certain right scene, or achieve a certain goal, all outward. It's telling us to speed up. It's telling us that we are late to the party. Very little tells us to slow down, to go within, to be present in the moment, to ask ourselves those hard questions. That's what I mean.
You know, the funny thing about that though is, now in the first segment I was, making a joke about my freak number is high, but I don't think I'm more adventurous or I do more than others. I think my freak number is high because I know why I like what I like. Like I've unpacked kind of the underpinnings of like my sexual desires. And I think that was what disconnected me from the last person is that, he just liked whatever. I'm not going to tell his business, but he just liked X, but he didn't understand why he liked it. And I wonder what is a way that we can start unpacking that for ourselves as Black gay culture? How do we create an awareness around the why in our lives?
That's a great question. And so this is something I work with a lot of my clients with. And so again, the first thing we need to do is slow down. We need to slow down and get by ourselves without the scroll, without the television, and we journal. Journaling is a big part of understanding ourselves, asking ourselves, why is it this? Why is it that? Another thing that we can do is to explore. Again, a lot of people talk about whether, hookup or relationship. I think both have their parts, but one of the great things about sort of casual sex, if you will, is exploring what you like, what you don't like, right? And then Xing those things out. So there's that piece of it too. So there's work that we can do with ourselves by slowing down, by understanding ourselves, asking ourselves those questions. And then there's also work that we can do with others and exploring what we like. Oh, I don't like the way that feels, et cetera, et cetera. So all those ways we can get to know ourselves.
As you were saying that, what I saw or what I heard is, in my experience. Now, this is just me. I'm not a researcher. I just have had a lot of sex. Full disclosure,
Okay.
but I don't know that I've known anybody else, any other race of people that has so many things of what I don't do
Mm,
sexually. Like
mm,
Black men, in my experience, have a laundry list of things that I've never tried, never do, right? So many total tops because I've never been fucked. I don't want to be fucked. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to suck dick. I'm not going to touch this. Don't touch my ass. Don't. We just have culturally, I think we have a laundry list of nevers or will nots.
Yeah.
And is that like in your observation, is that, am I wrong? Am I weird? Like it
No,
feels
I
like
don't.
we're just, a lot of us have a aversion to exploration.
Well, I think again that goes back to the messages a lot of us as black, gay, black, queer men have growing up, right? These messages around masculinity, so much about masculinity that we're taught as small children is about restriction. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Not explore, not try this, right? So then we internalize that message, we take that on for ourselves, and then as adults, again, oh, I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't do this, I don't do that. There are also these messages about masculinity that we all are subjected to. And so if someone touches my butt, what does this mean? Right? If someone touches this part of me, what does this mean? Does this make me more feminine? Does this make me more masculine?
Yeah.
Et cetera.
Yeah. As if these things, as if it's like a, what is it, like an electrical circuit, that this means this connects to this. Like if I get my ass touched, that means I want to get my ass ate, and that means I'm a bottom, and that means I'm feminine, and that mean, when really,
Right, which means I'm
you
not
just got
a
big
man.
hands.
Right.
Oh, why do we do that, Doc? Why?
But here's the thing. I want to say that it's, I don't want to pretend like this is only a problem with black men, right? We're talking about
But
black
you
men.
are on
That's
Dear
what
Black
this,
Gay Men, bro. That's we only care about black folk here.
right. But the reason why I bring that up though is because I don't want to make it like we're an issue. It's an issue with masculinity, is what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
So it's an issue with masculinity, and the ways in which we are taught about masculinity. Again, a lot of it is based on restriction. You prove you're a man by not doing this. You prove you're a man by not doing that. Or you prove you're a man by doing this thing, but that thing is usually something very aggressive, very much based on domination, right? And so we grow up hearing that, and then we internalize it and we perpetuate it in our relationships.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, I agree. It is. It is fucked up.
Okay, and so we, between you and I, we have talked about these really big words about masculinity and domination and all these things. If there was one piece of advice you could give us to start getting out of that, you said slow down.
Mm-hmm.
You said journaling and understanding your why, but how do we break these kind of hyper masculine tropes that we've just accepted culturally?
You know, one of the things that I often work with clients with is to find different examples of masculinity. Again, sometimes we are only used to seeing one thing, only having one thing modeled in our households growing up. But look at different examples, read books, look at different shows, find different people on social media you want to follow that gives you a well-rounded, a 360 view of what masculinity could look like, and then decide, what are you drawn to, right? I think that's one of the ways that we can start.
Not that I'm a doctor, but I would take that one step further and give ourselves permission to define masculinity as things that are not stereotypically masculine.
Of course.
I think that a lot of us, this is Dear Black Gay Men. There are so many versions of black gay men that come on this show, that talk to me, that we see on a weekly basis. But I think that a lot of them, for some reason, we just don't allow our brain to qualify that as masculinity. Like me in this lace top, our brain doesn't allow me to see Jay as still masculine, even though he got on a crop top or lace or these hoochie daddy shorts. Because, baby, when I tell you I got a 3-inch inseam right now, and if I sneeze too good, you're gonna see a little bit of too much extra. That's why my name is covering up all of this down here.
No, but you're so right though about defining masculinity for ourselves. And again, thinking about how broad that can be. Masculinity can be so much. It can be so much. And allowing us to define that for ourselves. And again, I think that's why examples are important, because it can be hard for people to just think of that, sort of out of the blue abstractly. Mm-hmm. But seeing different things can be like, oh, I didn't think that was masculinity, but it speaks to me. So let me try it.
I can't tell you how many times people come on the show and they say, oh, I'm femme. And I'd be like, really? Are you though? They be having like full beard, deep voice, big booty, big chest, big this. But because they, more bottom than center, they're like, oh, I'm feminine. And I'd be like, I don't see that for you. But if that's what you claim, I give it.
And that again goes back to asking yourself that question. Where did that come from? Where did you learn that from? What definition is that based on? Whose definition?
Who, Doc? Who? That's a big one. Mm-hmm. I love my buttons.
Yeah. but it's true, because so many times those definitions that we use to put ourselves into a box to mold ourselves are not our own. They came from the outside.
Okay. So before we go to this break, Rakai, I'm going to go a little off script. What's happening in the comment section before we go to break? Any good stuff for Doc? KP Bolden says we need to free our minds when it comes to sex. Two tops who are dating should get with bottoms who want who want DP or group sex. If you don't know what DP is, Google it. It's in Urban Dictionary. You'll love it. What else is in there? K-Bar said, Jay, you are not lying. So many black men get wrapped up in the expectation and performance of masculinity that it prevents them from exploring and figuring out what they may enjoy outside of the norm. Doc, I think you touched on that when you were talking about how a lot of these definitions are given to us of what top, what bottom, what masculine, what feminine does. Mm-hmm. And that then informs what we allow ourselves to experience, right?
Exactly. And when we get wrapped up in masculinity, we're cutting off part of ourselves, because everyone has masculinity and femininity in them. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes us whole. I oftentimes talk to my clients about wholeness, right? So when we only give, I'm masculine, this is what it means to be a man, then we're also cutting off parts of ourselves and limiting our experience. And that means that we're not going to be as optimal as we can be.
Damn, that's good. Okay. All right, Rakai, you can take that one down because I got to go to a break. I got to pay some bills, Doc.
Okay.
All right, later in the show, Dr. Lassiter is going to be answering your burning questions. But before the break, I want to know, how do you define intimacy? Big word. How do you define it? Let me know in the chat box. And then we'll be going through when we come back. Be sure to share this video, this YouTube live, with a friend who needs a dopeness reminder, or tag them in the comments on Insta. This is Sexual Compatibility Explained, and we will be right back. Get in the conversation. This comment says, I did a good job. It's time for a congratulatory ejaculation session. Chat live on the show and get exclusive content.
The bottoms are going to eat me up for this in the chat.
Join the Dear Black Gay Men Insiders group on Facebook. Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday right here on Dear Black Gay Men Podcast. Before the break, I was curious as to how we all define intimacy. Let me know in the chat box. How do you define intimacy? Rakai, what we got? Do we have any? Okay. KK is tuning in from not the United States. I don't remember. I know you international. Welcome. Bonjour. I don't even know what language you would speak wherever you are. Wagwan, if it's in Jamaica. But for me, intimacy is closeness and connection that's emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical, but not always. Can you be intimate during a hookup, Kay? Let me know in the chat box. Can you be intimate during a hookup? If you don't know who they are, it's a one and done. But can that be an intimate experience? I'm really curious about that. What else we got, Rakai? Uh-oh. It says, I define intimacy by a kindred connection composed of understanding and mutuality. Same question for you, James. Can you be intimate during a hookup? If it's a one and done, is that possible? Put up that comment from Mr. D. Go up to that one, Rakai. Intimacy, closeness, communication, cuddling, caring, that may or may not lead to. I know what that says, but see you Monday morning in, because like a see you next Tuesday is a thing that's an acronym, so it's like see you Monday morning. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Let me know, Mr. D. Do you get it? See you Monday morning. Okay. All right, you can take that down, okay. Thank you for that. I'm being cheesy because my titties are out. Doc.
Hello?
Hey, so how do you define intimacy?
So I define intimacy, as one of the viewers did, as closeness, right? And that closeness is about feeling connected. It's about feeling supported. It's about being able to be genuine with the person that you have this connection with, and being vulnerable. Being very much vulnerable. And that's hard for a lot of people to do. But intimacy allows us to be vulnerable. And intimacy also requires risk. Again, so many of us, for a lot of legitimate reasons, approach relationships with our guard up, but we can't have intimacy inside of a shell. So we also have to take risk.
Okay, can I give you my theory about sex and intimacy?
Sure.
So I truly believe, and I'll stand 10 toes down on this, unless you tell me I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I truly believe that when you come, like the moment of climax, is when we are the most vulnerable. When our brain is clear, we are fully present in the moment, we are experiencing all of this sensation. And I think that for a lot of us is the only time that we get to be vulnerable. And so a lot of us are seeking, we have these very, very active sex lives, seeking that moment because we're seeking vulnerability. But our life is set up to where we only find that during climax or when we're engaging with another person.
Yes, that is true for some folks, but again, it doesn't have to be that way. But you're right. During climax, our brain releases hormones, right? Oxytocin, dopamine, neurotransmitter. I know, big words.
All the feel good. Hold on.
Right, all the feel good chemicals.
Since you got your degree,
I know, right? I'm
you
sorry.
know every fucking thing.
I know, but all feel good hormones. There you go. Perfect way to say it. And so we feel like very close, right? We feel like warm and cuddly, but that's not the only time we can feel it. Unfortunately, for some people, that is the only time, but intimacy is something we can cultivate at any time.
You know when else I feel it?
When
I hit the poppers.
Well, again, that's opening up your head in a different way.
I mean, you know, like the neurotransmitter educated talk, but I mean, hit them poppers and I get real present real quick, and I'm feeling all the feels and doing all the things.
No, I mean, again, but that is short-lived. That's short-lived, and again, if we're thinking about,
because the bottle is so small,
and that hit right. But again, if we're thinking about long-term healthy relationships, it's something that we have to cultivate in each moment over time. And so those things help us get them for a split second, but then it often leaves us empty and wanting more. And it's sometimes feeling worse than when we started, before that
So,
moment.
so I will tell you that what I'm hearing you say though is vulnerability is a large part of intimacy.
Oh, yes, 100%.
But I'm also hearing you that say that black culture, based on everything we've talked about this whole hour, is just not set up to be a welcome place for vulnerability. We're reared in a space that says don't do this, don't be vulnerable, be hard as a rock, stoicism, all of
Mhm.
that.
Exactly.
So you talked a little bit in the last segment about the first step, but what would be the first step in for ourselves cultivating a level of vulnerability that allows us to be more intimate, not just in sex, but in general?
hmm So again, we have to slow down and we have to listen to that internal voice, and we have to put that internal voice out in front of us. So again, this is why journaling is so important. So what are you feeling? But also, what is that voice that's saying, don't feel that? I talk to my clients about this overly critical voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like the voice of Monique's character, since you got your degree, right? It's the
Since you
voice
got your
that's
degree, and
exactly
you know
right.
every fucking thing.
It's that voice. It's like, oh, you feeling this? That ain't
Mm-hmm.
that's not that's not sexy. That's going to get you hurt. Those voices like that. We have to be mindful of those voices, and we have to call those voices to the mat, right? We have to say, hold up, is this really true? Or is this something I've heard before? Is this my mother's voice? Is this my ex's voice? Is this true? A lot of times our minds tell us things that are not true. And so we have to put that voice on trial. Where's your evidence that if I take this risk, it's going to backfire?
But a lot of us had a lot. If you ask me, 10 years ago in my 20s, I would say that the evidence was my heartbreak after that last relationship. That is the evidence that says vulnerability is not a positive experience.
Uh-huh. Right. It wasn't a positive one, because we get our heart broken
Hmm.
doesn't negate all the great things that happen in that relationship. It doesn't negate the lessons we learned in that relationship. Oftentimes we allow heartbreak to make everything bad. We throw out the baby with the bathwater. So one, we need to up our nuance game, and let's hold on to the good in that relationship.
Yeah, I
Two,
think
I was
that
gonna say,
was
and
huge.
two,
That was big. Hold on to the nuance. Hold on to the good. Okay. And
yeah.
number two, go ahead.
And number two is we had our relationship, our heart broken then. There's no guarantee we're gonna have a heart broken the next time. We can't predict that. So again, that's a lie we're telling ourselves.
Uh, uh, um, like my spirit wants to agree with you, but my head won't let me because because I also know that different than this conversation. Many people have told me that the best predictor of the future is the past. You know where you're going by where you've come from, and I wonder, are you saying that we got to throw that away, or like how do I overcome the fact that I've been through heartbreak and A plus B equals C over here, but
Mhm.
you're telling me A plus B can equal F over there, and in my head, it's hard for me to make that connection.
Yeah, again, nuance, because we're A plus B equals C over there. We're not dealing with only A plus B over here, right? We're not, because we're different. This person is different. There are new variables in this equation.
Okay.
So again, that's a false thing that we're telling ourselves. If things are exactly the same, then yeah, listen to that. That past behavior is going to predict the future behavior. But if the variables have changed, circumstances have changed, I've grown, I've upped my game so that I'm interacting with people at a different level, it's not necessarily so that I'm going to get the same results.
You know what, Doc? I really was going to. So for everybody, I don't talk to the guests before this. I really did think this conversation was about to be an hour long, talking about dick and ass. And here you are enlightening the girls and setting me free, talking about upping our nuance game and all. Baby, when I tell you that nuance game has changed me.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Okay, so tell me about this book, that your upcoming memoir, because I know you just posted on Instagram of how I think you just sent off the third draft or the third revision to the
Oh, yeah.
editor.
Yeah.
Tell me about the book that you have coming.
So the book, How I Know White People Are Crazy, it's a memoir of race, mental health, and whiteness in the United States. And so it's basically my story of how I became a licensed clinical psychologist. Black people only make up 5% of psychologists. Black men make up 1%, and Black same gender loving men like myself make up less than 1%. So there's a real need for therapists like myself to work with everybody in the community, right? And so it was a journey getting there, from childhood with my father giving me those restrictive messages about how to be a man. But again, I link that to the whiteness and the anti-Black racism that he experienced. Again, because a lot of our parents are telling us don't do this, don't do that, because they're trying to protect us, because they've been hurt by racism, by heterosexism, by all these horrible things. And so they're trying to make us be small to keep us protected. And it backfires, right? It backfires in all these ways that we've been talking about. So the book is about those things. And it's also about how a lot of what we think we understand about mental health is actually only applicable to white people.
Wait a minute. Unpack that for me. I hate questions like say more about that, or but you gonna have to unpack that one. A lot of what we understand about mental health is only applicable to white people. What do you mean?
Yeah, so we all are cultural people, right? And so
Yes.
most of the research, psychology is the field based on research. And most of the research has been done on white college age women. And then they get published in these prestigious journals, and then they get picked up by the news, and we say things like scrolling Facebook increases narcissism. Well, is that true? Because the sample was predominantly white female college students, right? And so what we think we know about
And they're
mental,
trying to be like us anyway.
I'm telling you, they're trying to be like us, but they don't want to give us the credit. That's the other thing, right?
Okay,
But
that's a whole different episode.
what
Doc.
we think we know is actually not based on us, because a lot of the research don't include people like you and me.
Okay. 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 I so what I heard, what I saw when you were saying that is the kind of what is it called? It's a bias. It's like the sampling bias
Mm-hmm.
of research when it comes
Yes.
to, especially when it comes to mental health, because a lot of black people, even a lot of black people want to get into counseling, can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to, asking us about topics relating to our mental health, even if I know I need to improve it, a lot of us don't have the resources or the capacity to engage a doctor like you. Am I, is that a contributing factor, or am I just pontificating?
Oh no, unfortunately that's true. Again, one, we don't have the numbers, right? We don't have enough Black psychologists, enough Black therapists to serve every Black person. Two, yeah, capitalism makes it so that it's really expensive because insurance companies don't want to pay therapists. And so therapists are like, I can't take insurance because I can't pay my light bill, you know? And so it's just a really messed up system.
Yeah. Doc, I will tell you, I really did think this conversation was just about to be about parts. But when I tell you, you have opened my eyes, and we ain't even done yet. So I shout out to you,
Oh,
Dr.
thank you.
Lassiter. Of course, we got your information in the chat box. I mean, in the description, but we'll get to that in a second. Uh, During the break, be sure to drop your burning questions for Dr. Lassiter and I in the chat, and we'll be answering them right after the break. If you have a question about anything we've discussed tonight, let us know in the chat box, and we will be right back. Get in the conversation. This comment says, I did a good job. It's time for a congratulatory ejaculation session. Chat live on the show and get exclusive
The
content.
bottoms are gonna eat me up for this in the chat.
Join the Dear Black Gay Men Insiders group on Facebook. Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday right here on Dear Black Gay Men Podcast. This is our segment that we're calling Burning Questions. Royce, you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. That what we got in the chat box, Rakai? What questions we got coming in? The commercial breaks be taking me out. I got to pay these bills, Fred.
See,
They be wanting us to just go straight through. Alvin and Charles says in the U.S. and Europe, most medical research is based on white folks. Would you say that the research supports that, Doc?
Oh, 100%. 100%. The medical research, pretty much all research, except for like anthropology.
Okay. Trey Harder says that's kind of like all AI and how AI is based when it comes to favoring white people or racial stereotypes. You know, the interesting thing before you respond to that is when we started before Photoshop, when they use like cards and coloring to go from black and white TV to color, like everything, nothing could recognize black skin because it's so many different shades of it. And that's why like a lot of the starlets from old Hollywood, from the vaudeville era, are like very, very pale because everybody was the same color back then. But then next thing you know, you put a black person on the skin and we could be one of a million different shapes. It's a whole thing. I could rabbit hole on that. But Doc, what response do you have to this one for Trey Harder?
No, Trey is right. The research supports this because it is people that's programming AI, and those people put their biases. So these algorithms are not neutral.
I mean, I'm with you and you're right. Ain't too many follow-ups to that one. So what else we got, Rakai? James Riviera says both things can be true when we present things in only a binary way. We omit a lot of nuances that factor into why we think and move the way we do. Very rarely are things just so black and white.
Yeah.
I wonder, James, give me some context. What part of the conversation were you referencing when you said that? If you're still here. But Doc, I'll let you respond while James is dropping that in the comments.
No, I think it's true. We have to move beyond the binary, and I often try to encourage my clients to think along continuum. Like we may have poles, but a lot of us are really in this middle space that encompasses multiple parts, multiple components, and it's about allowing ourselves to embrace all of that.
Yeah, I think when you talked about nuance, especially about mannerisms, what I think a lot of our culture does is say that, like, let me back up. I think a lot of the apps that we use in our culture exacerbate this norm that you have to be all one thing or all another. Like I remember back when BGC came out with like in between.
Yeah.
And in between was just a colorful way of saying femme-ish. But the masculine girls didn't feel comfortable saying that they were in between because of all the things that we know in between girls to be. And so I think even from then it's hard for us to blend these nuances of 95% mask, but I vogue the house down and carry a bag, or I'm 50% femme, but I can change a tire. Like I don't know if our culture allows us to put these things together in a way that we honor when it's expressed.
Yeah, definitely not at a mass level, right? It's work that we all need to do, but often we're going to be cutting against the grain.
But isn't that being black though? Isn't everything about our culture like on a basic level cutting against the grain?
Yeah, it totally is, and I think that's why this is also work that we can do and have the tools to do, because exactly what you said, we're already doing it when it comes to our blackness.
Okay, I'm here for that. What else you got, Rakai? Kevin Kev says, can the doctor give another example of therapeutic practices that work or apply to white people that don't work or apply to black people?
Yes. So let's think about sort of. Oh, here's the thing: sexual identity disclosure for Black queer youth, right? A lot of the research was like, oh, disclose your identity to your parents no matter what, be here, be proud, etc., etc. And while I think that's ideal for a lot of people, that also proposes a particular type of individualism that we see much more prevalent in white culture versus a collectivism thinking about not just my feelings, but my role in this group, in the family. And it also doesn't take into account the fact that there are resources that I may not have access to if I sort of put it all out there at once. And so while we definitely don't want people to, suppress themselves, there's also a time and a place. And I always encourage my clients to make the smartest decision for them that's going to get their needs met in that time frame, right? And then move forward from there. Does that make sense? Because I think some people will prioritize, oh, I need to do this for me, over their greater well-being. And I'm like, no, you need to prioritize your greater well-being.
I think of it just a little differently. I think that most people are most people latch on to or are drawn to the space where they are marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
And so black people are marginalized on a whole bunch of different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like black gay pride is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
because that is the most, for a lot of us, that is the most specific way that we are marginalized. But when you're white, in my experience, being white is a privilege. So, and being a man is a privilege. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to find the way in which I am marginalized, and then I get stuck there.
Right.
And what I'm hearing you say is that coming out from that space is just two totally different experiences. Like when I
Exactly.
came out as a 16-year-old little boy who felt some way for the boy at my school, that has different implications at coming out into my black family,
Mm-hmm.
led by my African father and my Southern mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get put out at that time, or at least that's what I thought. Whereas my white friends, my white counterparts, they just don't have the same cultural experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to talk about coming out from a mental health space is just two totally different. It's apples and oranges. It's apples and Chevy Malibus.
Exactly. We got to consider different factors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Doc. You can take all that down, everybody. You can. Thank you. I appreciate, Doc. You really did a big one on this one. You got me out of thinking about ass and dick to have like a very educated, very like nuanced conversation, and we gonna step our nuance game up. That might be the new T-shirt.
Come on.
We gonna step our nuance game up. I appreciate you so much. Don't go anywhere, Doc. That was Burning Questions. For those who joined us in the questions, I've got something special for you. Find out what it is after the break. We will be right back. I think I lead a pretty normal life. I'm a podcaster and a content creator. I'm pursuing my passions. So many of us, black gay people, either live with a reality or a fear of HIV. Any movement toward a future where HIV is less of a part of who we are, I don't know that I can think of anything more impactful to our culture. Hey teammates, I would like to thank my guest, Dr. Jonathan Mathias Lassiter, which I think is the most nuanced name. If you've been watching, you know why I said it that way. If you would like to connect with his links if you would like to connect with his practice or on his socials, links are in the description. I want to thank everybody who sent a burning question that was answered in our last segment. If you did, I'm feeling generous. So if you sent a burning question that we answered on the show, you're getting a Dear Black Gay Man black trucker hat like the one I'm wearing today. Just DM me on IG and we'll make sure we get it sent to you. Thank you so much. All right. This one TikTok said, he's not your type, he's your pattern. And that shit hit me hard. I've been dating emotionally unavailable men for a long time. So to talk to someone who liked me and didn't mind showing it was an adjustment for me. If you listen to the podcast, I call this guy Kevin, and he was amazing. But he gave me a dating energy that was so far out of my pattern that I didn't know how to process it. Apparently, I didn't figure it out fast enough because he dumped me. Finding my type when you've had a fucked up pattern is hard. And Doc told us I gotta set my nuance game up. I appreciate Kevin for exposing me to a new way of being. It sucks that he and I didn't work, but I'm better for having known and experienced him on this level. So, dear Black gay men, everything and every person that happens to us is a lesson that God and the universe would have us to learn. That was our show. I want to shout out to Reese Blue 1970. He said, they says, this episode popped up in my podcast search and I was scared when I saw the title, but now my heart is full. I'm a gay trans man and it really gets me in the feels when I hear support from cis people. You're a treasure. Thank you so much. I really do believe that cis men, especially cis gay men or people in the LGBT community who identify as cisgender, have to stand in the gap a lot more for people of trans experience. That's the only way we can really call ourselves community. Thank you for that. And then DD Dior says, you look so cuddly. I be trying. You know, I do some push-ups every once in a while, and, you know, I might pick up something heavy at the gym. I want to thank you for adding that to the comments. The countdown to the season finale is on. Visit DearBlackGayMan.com to get your tickets to our season finale party. I am Jay the Gentleman. This has been Dear Black Gay Men Podcast, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.